Does any of this sound familiar to you? You set and met your career goals and you're having tremendous professional success, but it costs you your personal and family life. And you don't know your wife or your children anymore, and you're just not sure about yourself and what's important to you. So you had to ask yourself, was it worth it? Or what about this? You started a new diet for the 5th time this year, and you know that you're overweight and you really want to change. And you read all the information, you set goals, and you got yourself all psyched up with a positive mental attitude, and you just tell yourself that you can do it, but you just don't. And then after a few weeks, you fizzle and just can't seem to keep a promise to yourself. Or what about this? You've taken course after course on effective time management, and you expect a lot of your employees and you work hard to be friendly toward them and to treat them right, but you don't feel any loyalty from them. And you know, in fact, that if you were to go out for a sick day, that they just be lollygagging around the water cooler instead of being work. And you're just having trouble finding just really good employees. Or your teenage son is rebellious and on drugs, and no matter what you try, he just won't listen to you. What can you do? Or it could be there's so much to do and not enough time, so you feel pressured and hassled every day, all day, 7 days a week. You've attended time management seminars, you've tried half a dozen planning systems. Some have helped, but you just don't feel like you're living a happy, productive life, a peaceful life that you want to live. Or maybe this, you want to teach your children the value of work, but to get them to do anything, you have to supervise every single move, like just time management, just like getting at them over and over to pick up things and just pretty much complaining every step of the way. You know, it's such that it's so much easier just to do it yourself. Or maybe this, you're very, very busy, but sometimes you wonder if what you're doing is really making a difference in the long run. You know, you really like to think there's meaning to your life, that somehow things were different because you are here in this life. And you see your friends and relatives achieve some degree of a success, and you also receive recognition, or they've received recognition, and you smile and congratulate them. But inside, it's really eating your heart out, and you're wondering why you feel this way. Or maybe it's this one. You have a forceful personality, and you know in almost any of your interactions, you can pretty much control the outcome. And even most of the time, you can do it by influencing others to come up with the things or the solution that you want. And you think that with every situation that you feel that the ideas that you come up with are usually the best for everyone. But you feel uneasy and you always wonder what other people really think about you and your ideas. Or perhaps it's this one. Your marriage has gone flat. You don't fight or anything, you just don't love each other anymore. And you've gone through counseling, you tried a number of things, but you just don't seem to rekindle the feelings that you used to have. Well, all of these are problems that were addressed in the book that we are reading today. Hi, my name is McAdams, and welcome to Transform Your Life in 15 Minutes. I'm an author. I'm also a certified coach and accounting professor. I specialize in personal and small business finance and also fitness. I help people reach their goals. And in this section of Transform Your Life in 15 Minutes, this is where we're doing 5-minute exercises, one each for the mind, the body, and the soul. So for the mind, we are going to be reading out of this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. And I'm so excited to be presenting this book this month. And then for the body portion, we're going to be doing a 5-minute yoga routine. And for the soul portion, we're going to be doing a 5-minute guided meditation. So I want to welcome you this morning and welcome back to those that have been my previous viewers that have been watching me in the past, and also new people. Hold on. My voice is kind of scratchy here. So if this is your first time joining me, I've been doing this broadcast now for several months, and I just kind of took a 2-week hiatus break. I had surgery on my nose, so everything looks to be fine. Everything's fine. The surgery was successful, and everything went really well with that. So I'm really excited to be back. I want to kind of not warn you, but just kind of preface you. I just got back. I attended this fitness event in New Orleans since Thursday. I've been gone, and I got back 2 o'clock in the morning. So I literally had less than 3 hours of sleep. So if everything seems like discombobulated with me, it's because I am actually functioning off a little bit of sleep. All right. So with that being aside, let's talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people. Now, I recently read this book years ago, and this book is really talking about really the 7 habits, the fundamental habits that you actually need or that all people need to be effective. Now, notice it didn't say successful, it means to be effective because these are going to be basic habits. So I'm excited to be presenting this to you. But before we actually present the 7 habits, the book is actually broken into 3 different parts. Okay, so the first part, if you will, is kind of like the introduction. This is where we start talking about the principles and your paradigms, your perceptions. And then the second part is actually talking about the habits. And even the habits are broken into, the 7 habits are actually broken up into 3 parts as well. Like they're presented as groups. Like habits 1, 2, and 3 are presented together. 4, 5, and 6 are presented together. And then habit number 7 is presented last by itself. And then the third part of the book is going to be to summarize the 7 habits. So that's what we're going to kind of do as well with this broadcast. So we're going to first start off with the introduction. Today we're going to be talking about character ethics versus what was it? I forgot that fast. Character ethics versus personality ethics. And we're going to be talking about, I think I bulleted like 11 main points. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be talking about the principles in the book and then how it's going to affect you in order for you to be effective in your life. Now remember, I said effective, not successful. Now does it mean that you can be successful? Absolutely. But these are going to just be the underlying basics that you need in order to be effective in life. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm so excited. All right, let me grab some more water again because I don't want my voice to go scratchy. Okay, so the first part again is going to be talking about character ethics versus personality ethics. And we're going to be talking about from the inside out. Now, the first bullet point says, if you want to change the situation, you first have to change yourself. Okay, and for this, I have a story. And I've actually told you this story before, but I want to tell you again because anytime I'm being repetitive about something, there's dual reasons for doing that. One is because obviously the more that we hear it, then the more that it sinks in. But another reason is this. Also, the more that we hear it, by the time that we hear it second or third or fourth time, we possibly change our mindset and then we hear something different within it. Okay, so it's a different way you hear it. Such that I read this book. I mentioned I read this book. This was years ago. I read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then I'm reading it again as I'm presenting it to you. And it's like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is some really good stuff. I don't remember this the first time I read it. Well, why is that happening to me is because my mindset has changed. This has been probably about 5 or 6 years ago that I actually originally read this book. And so now fast forward 5 or 6 years later, I have a different mindset. So as I'm going through it again, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't read that. I don't remember reading that, or I remember reading it, but it didn't have that same impact. Like now it's an aha moment. So again, repetition is the key. So I want to tell you a story again. And this story is, imagine that you are inside of your house. And all of a sudden the lights go out and it's at nighttime and you have your keys in your hand and you kind of trip over a cord. And when you trip, you fall and your keys just kind of fall out of your hands and now they're lost. So now you're kind of fumbling along in the dark trying to look for those keys. And you're not really being successful because you can't see. It's really, really dark inside. And it just so happens that you look up and out right in front of you is a window and you notice that there's a light on outside. And so you say to myself, let me go outside and look for my keys. All right, silly, right? Well, follow along. And so you go outside where there's light and you're going around, you're looking for your keys on the outside. And so a short time later, your neighbor comes by. It's nighttime. He's taking a nightly walk. And he sees you kind of fumbling around. So he says, so what are you doing? And you say, well, I'm looking for my keys. I lost my keys. And so he said, okay, I'll help you. And so then he's trying to help you find your keys. And after a few minutes, again, being unsuccessful and just kind of looking around the area, he finally asked you, he said, about where did you lose your keys? And then you say, well, I lost my keys on the inside of my house. And then he looks at you and said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you lost your keys on the inside of your house and you're outside here looking for it? Well, that doesn't make any sense. And then you say, well, no, it's dark on the inside of the house, so it doesn't make any sense to look on the inside there when there's plenty of light out here. All right. Now, think about that for a moment. When you're struggling, like all those instances that I started off with, when you're struggling with problems, what is it that you typically do when you want to find a solution? You go out, you ask people, you read things and different things. But the premise of that story is this. You go on the outside of you as opposed to looking on the inside. So remember, I said the name of this first part is called Inside Out. So whenever there's any problems, the first thing that you want to do is look on the inside, because that's where the solution is. The solution is not on the outside. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is to change yourself effectively, you first have to change your perceptions. Now, this is a big one because we all like to think that, that we have a good perception of things. But really, it changes, right? And let me give you an example of this. And again, this example right here is actually from the book, The 7 Habits. Now, follow along with me on this one. So imagine, if you will, that you're on, it's probably about like 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're on a train, on the subway in New York City. And if you've ever been to New York City, you know how, the subways are. But this particular time is not a really busy time. It's pretty much, like rush hour is gone and kids are in school. So the train is not really crowded. There's people on there. There's people reading. But the ambiance is like, it's kind of quiet. It's peaceful. And, you're on your way, you're going somewhere. It doesn't really matter where you're going. But it's tranquil, it's peaceful, just kind of looking around at the different people that's on the train, on the subway. So then at the next stop, all of a sudden, this man gets on the train or the subway, and he has all these rowdy kids with him. It's about 4 or 5. They're like baby kids. They're like running around. They're wreaking havoc. They're messing around with the man that's reading the newspaper. They're just all over the place, right? Now, this man just quietly sits down next to you, and he just kind of like bows his head down, oblivious to his kids just like being ruckus and wild and just, pretty much out of control. So after a while, you're just like, excuse me, sir. You might want to handle your kids. Like, you're kind of getting frustrated, right? Like, all of a sudden, it was this peaceful, tranquil environment, and then all of a sudden, these baby kids come on, and everything's like rowdy, and everyone's looking, and it's pretty much upsetting to people. But these are other people's kids, and you know how it is nowadays. Well, at least here on the West Coast. I know on the East Coast, it's not so much, but on the West Coast, we don't really say much to other people's children, and probably not much on the East Coast now. In this day and age, you're just kind of like, your perception of the situations that these kids are just rowdy. So finally, you say to the guy sitting next to you, excuse me, sir, you might want to get a control of your kids. They're being rude and obnoxious, and they're just being loud and, rowdy. They're out of control. You might want to handle them. So then the guy slowly kind of looks up and looks up at you and just kind of says, I think you're right. I don't know what to do. We just left from the hospital where they found out that their mother just died just over an hour ago. I just don't know what to do. Now think about that for a moment, okay? In the storyline, when I first talked about it and the kids got on, your perception of those kids were that they were rude, they're unrowdy, they're just obnoxious, they're out of control. But then after hearing the story, like, oh my gosh, these kids just found out their mother just died. How awful. Now all of a sudden, now you have compassion. You want to help. You want to say, well, what is it that I can do? So do you understand now what we're talking about? In order to change yourself effectively, you must first change your perception. It's the way that you view things. It's the way that you view situations. You can't just jump to conclusions based upon what you visually see as far as the circumstances. You got to be willing to be open and be able to change your perceptions. All right? So let's do one more. All right, so the next one is, now this one's a big one. Now keep in mind that in this book, Dr. Stephen Covey, he did research after research. Like, he spent years and time just doing research. And he actually went back over like the past 200 years from the time that the book was written. He went back past the over 200 years reading all kinds of publications, books, anything that was put out there on basically how to be successful. Okay, so he did all this research, and he went back to 200 years. And what he's finding out now is that today's society, we're actually breeding people who want to address like quick fixes. Like we have a problem, and we just want to kind of we want a quick fix. We want it really quick. We want to hurry. We want to put a Band-Aid over a solution. We want to take an aspirin. We want something that's going to be fast. We want to solve those acute problems, when really underlining is the chronic problems. It's just, it's the things that's underneath it. And to help you with this one, think in terms of like an iceberg, right? So if you know anything about the iceberg, you may see a massive part of the iceberg outside of the water, right? But as big as that you see on the outside, underneath it, the scale of it is humongous. So like even in the movie Titanic, it just came to my mind, the movie Titanic, they visually saw the iceberg, that they were heading toward the iceberg, and it was huge, and they saw it was too late. But then if you actually see the movie, obviously the visualization helps. When you see the movie, it was underneath where the iceberg was actually massive. So they hit the iceberg, but it was the underneath part, like the biggest part. So if you're trying to solve the acute problems, the problems that are like right up in your face, but not addressing the underlying one, you're not going to be successful over the long haul. For example, let's say, for instance, that that you want to lose weight. Okay, so as far as the perceptions are concerned, you visually see yourself as, because you're looking in the mirror, you see yourself as overweight. And so when you go out in society, and it may be true because, for the most part, it's based upon your perception, right? You see how the way people interact with you, and, and then it's just kind of hard just moving around society if you're really overweight. And so you want to lose weight. So what's the first thing that you do? Well, you go, you start, you need to eat. And so you may or may not adjust your eating plan. And then you start to exercise. You start to do the things, remember, on the outside, right? You're going toward the outside. You start looking for tools on the outside that's going to help you lose weight. And then remember, I started off with the story that you've tried every single diet and they just don't work and you don't understand why. Well, remember, the title of this is Inside Out. You must address first the inside, the chronic problems, the underlying, not just the acuteness. The acuteness is on the outside, you're overweight. But why are you overweight? And you have to go inside to determine that for yourself. It may be something like, maybe you got molested as a child and this is your armor that you're trying to, started way back when, and it was your armor to make yourself unattractive because you were feeling unhappy about being molested. Or it could be there's some type of emotional abuse. Maybe there was a loss that you suffered and now you're using food to, pacify that loss. There could be endless amount of reasons why it happens, right? But the main point is that you want to address the inside of why it happens, because if you just start just doing things like eating right and exercising, it may work for you. It may, but it's going to be temporary because it's the acuteness. You want to address the underlying issue. Okay, so those are the three main points that I want to talk about today. And keep in mind that, this is kind of like a little teaser, so I'm going to have to break these up into parts. So for today, the three things that I want you to walk away with. Remember, first off, we're going to be talking about character ethics versus personality ethics. And we haven't gotten into them yet, but this is all a part of it, I promise you. And we're talking about the inside out. So the three main things that I want you to think about today is this. Number one, if you want to change your situation, you must first change yourself. And that's from the inside out. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, in order to effectively change yourself, you must also be willing to change your perception, because how you see things now is not how you're going to be able to see things in the future and affect change. It's just not going to happen. And then number three, I want you to understand that when it comes to addressing any problems that you have, okay, don't look for the quick fixes. Don't just go to, the outside tools and start taking action without really thinking, underlining what is the cause of it. Because think about it. Remember the name of the book, right? 7 Habits. So we're all going towards habits. What you're thinking now, we're going to find out it's going to be the underlying reasons why you're not successful. It's because you've actually developed some habits that are making you not successful. All right, so we're going to be addressing that, and I'm so excited this month with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. All right, so that's it for today. Remember those 3 main points. Think about those today. In order to change yourself, effectively, in order to change your situation, get it together, Pia. In order to change your situation, you must first change yourself. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, in order to change yourself effectively, you must be willing to change your perception, how you view things. And then number 3, you must also be willing to go deep on the inside and find the underlying reason for why you are in the situation you are in now, and not just address the quick fixes. Okay? All right, so those are 3 things we're going to leave with you today, and then join me again tomorrow, obviously, for the remaining of the character ethics. And again, there's like 8 or 9 bullet points I have for this. Okay, so let's now move on. If I can get this mic off, my hands are like really sweaty here. Now we're going to go on to portion of of this Transform Your Life. So in the yoga portion, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a quick 5-minute routine. Just kind of yoga routine to get your body up and moving. And I tell you, like in this convention that I attended in New Orleans just this past week, oh my gosh, there was so much walking that we were doing, so much walking. So I want you to understand it's just the little stuff that you do that can make all the big difference, right? It's not the big stuff, it's the little stuff. And one of the things that I also want to tell you was really neat. Our keynote speaker at that convention was Darren Hardy, and he's the author of many books, many bestseller books. Matter of fact, some of the books that we'll be talking about, one of the books we'll be talking about as well in the future broadcasting. But he started off by asking us, have you ever been bitten by an elephant? And of course we're like, no, not that I can think of. And so then he asked, well, have you ever been bitten by a mosquito? And so we're like, oh yeah, we know we've been bitten by a mosquito, if you've ever been bitten by a mosquito. And so then the point of this was this. It's the mosquito bite that can actually kill you, right? It's the small things that we do, the seemingly small things that we do over and over again that can actually kill our progress or kill our success. It's not the big things. And so the reason why I mention that, obviously it's doable, right? Because you can apply that principle throughout your life. If you want to lose weight, it's not the big things. Of course, all those 3 things we talked about earlier. It's not the big things that you do. It's the small things that you do over time that's going to make a difference, or not, right? So if you're doing the right things, the small things, the right things over time, it's going to be effective. Whereas if you're doing the small things ineffective over time, the small wrong things over time, it's going to be ineffective. Such, for example, let's say that you go out and you're trying to lose weight and you're hungry and you just didn't prepare for whatever reason. You know you should be doing what you already did the inside work and you know what you now need to do. And so you decide to go out and you eat a hamburger. Well, guess what? That one hamburger that day is not going to necessarily affect you. But if you can collapse time, and let's say that you were making that little small choice day after day over an extended period of time, and we were to now collapse that time, now all of a sudden you'll see that you're overweight. It didn't start off with something big. It started off with the little small things that you were doing over time. Well, let's contrast it to the opposite, right? So let's say that instead you started off by just eating an apple, okay? And then over time you started doing that again. You start eating healthy, small things over time. If you collapse the time, then all of a sudden now you're in shape because it's the small things. And that's what I want you to understand. It's the small things that's going to determine whether you're successful or not. So with this Transform Your Life in 15 minutes, just taking 5 minutes out of your day, just 5 minutes to address these 3 areas, your mind, your body, and soul. If you do that over time, can you imagine if you collapse the time where you will be 2 years from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? It starts off with the small things. And that's what I want to address with this broadcast, okay? This Transform Your Life in 15 minutes. It's about the small things that we're doing on a daily basis that's going to make a difference. And oh yeah, Pia, it's early in the morning, 6 o'clock, I'm still asleep, or I'm just getting ready for all these excuses. They're excuses. I don't care how you bottom line, it's excuses. Because I'm not saying that you have to watch live. I have many viewers that watch the recording. Okay, but again, it's the small things. Okay, you have to be willing to change your perception. When you're willing to change your perception, then you start to change. And when you start to change, the things that you say that you couldn't do in the past, now all of a sudden that you can do. Do you think I'm a morning person? No, I'm not a morning person. I like to sleep in as well. Remember, I'm an entrepreneur. My day is, I live my day by design. So I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I don't have to get up and go to work from 9 to 5. I only have a 7:30 to 2. My day is by design. I'm an entrepreneur, so I work from home. So I literally don't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 as I do sometimes 4:30 for this broadcast. I don't have to get up early. But I know if I want to be successful in life, I have to do the things that I don't want to do. But it started off with those 3 things. I wanted to change myself. Okay, so I had to change what I was doing. I had to do a lot of things. I'll start talking about these a little bit over time. Okay, but some of the things that I've done has been successful for me. And also, too, I have to be willing to change my perception of things, okay? When I start changing my perception of things and I start saying, so what if? Okay, what if I got up extra early? What if I took the extra time? Or what if I stayed up after night? Or what if this? What if that? Okay, and then of course, I know that the things that I do, I'm not going to see the results immediately per se. Some of them I do, but most of them I'm not. But over time, I will. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so you guys ready to do some yoga? I know you are, because I'm kind of long-winded this morning anyway. All right, but anyway, so we're going to be doing yoga. And with this yoga, we're going to actually start off, just kind of doing a couple of rounds of the sun salutation, just kind of get the body warmed up, and then we'll go into the flow. And I think probably this broadcast, I'll probably change the yoga routine a little bit more. I want to kind of go how I feel for this particular day, okay? So it's not going to be something that I pre-plan ahead of time. I'm just going to be doing some moves on how I feel today. Now, with that being said, sometimes I will repeat it just because, one, I feel like it, and two, I understand that if you're new to yoga, it's helpful to have the same routine over and over again so you can actually learn it, okay? So I'll keep both of those in consideration because there's some people that have been doing yoga for a while and there are people that are new to yoga. So I try to meet you in the middle, if you will. All right, enough talking, Pia. Let's go ahead and go to yoga. Let me turn on my music. And by the way, guys, if I haven't said it enough, again, I want to appreciate you taking the time to, out of your busy day, to watch this broadcast, whether it be live or recording. And keep in mind, like, I don't see any comments. It's a lot of times real time. So if you're, but I promise if you do have any questions or comments, go ahead and put those in the stream, the comment section below. And I will, of course, be looking throughout the day, and I'll be answering your questions. And I always recommend your messages offline. There's more people that message me offline than do in the comments. So if you do have anything you want to say, any questions you want to ask, then please, by all means, then go ahead and reach out to me. All right, so let's go ahead and do some yoga, and I hope, let me see. I hope that I'm able to got it right. Okay, let's get started. All right, we're going to stand in mountain pose. So you're going to stand with your feet hip distance apart, or you have your feet together, whatever feels comfortable to you. Fingertips down by your side, shoulders down and back, and head is a natural extension of the spine. Take a nice deep breath, inhaling. As we inhale, we're going to take our arms all the way up. And as we exhale, we're going to dive our body forward. As we inhale, we're going to look up halfway, flatten out the back. Arch your back, tailbone sticks up toward the back of the room. As you exhale, you're going to forward fold. Let's go ahead and inhale, take it all the way up. And exhale, hands go back down to your side. Deep breath, inhaling, arms go up. Exhale, dive the body forward. Look up halfway. Flatten out your back. Now let's take it to the plank. As you exhale, let's go ahead and release your chest, and your chin. As you inhale, take the body up to upward facing dog. Relax the shoulders. And as you exhale, you're going to curl your toes under and take it to downward facing dog. Let's kind of stay here for a moment. And kind of pedal your legs. Try to reach the heel down to the floor. Make sure you're in the right position. Your fingers and your toes are spread out nice and wide. Your middle fingers are facing forward and your thumbs are facing inward. Your head is in alignment with your biceps. Let's go ahead and bend your knees down toward the mat. And as you exhale, try to place the heels down toward the mat, pressing your chest toward your thighs and your knees. Let's do it again. Bring your knees down toward the mat. And then as you exhale, try to press your heels down. One more time. Bend your knees down toward the mat. And as you exhale, try to bring the heels down toward the mat. Now let's go ahead and step forward, right, left. Inhale up. And exhale, dive the body forward. Now look up halfway. Now let's go ahead and flatten out the palms and step back right, left into the plank. Release your knees, chest, chin. As you inhale, take it to upward facing dog. Relax the shoulders down away from your chin, or from your ears. And as you exhale, we're going to curl the toes under and take it to downward facing dog. And again, start to pedal your knees, your legs. Now with the downward facing dog, if this is too much stress on you, make some adjustments. You can take your feet out nice and wide. I'm using the mat, so I'm going to the outer edges of the mat. So you can do the same thing in the wide-legged wide-legged stance as you can in the narrow stance. All right, let's go ahead and bring that right knee as you inhale in towards your chest. And as you exhale, extend that right leg all the way back. Now go ahead and press your chest toward that left thigh and knee. And make sure you're breathing. Now let's go ahead and bend that right leg and open up the hip. Nice, deep ujjayi breaths. Now what you're doing, because yoga is all about the mind-body connection, just go inside internally and see how your body feels. And use your breath to address those tight areas, the tension in your body. Now let's go ahead and bring that right knee forward. Place it just below your belly. And then take that left leg and slide it all the way back. And let's go to the pigeon. Oh, I love this. It's right here. Now my forearms are down and my head is natural extension. Now depending on how you feel, this is the first time, so I'm just going to stay here, particularly if you're a beginner. If you're a beginner, you may need to be right here with just a slight bend in the elbow. Okay, so listen to your body. Now you're trying to square your hips and you're just kind of pressing your hips down toward the mat. Continue to breathe. Nice, deep ujjayi breaths. All right, let's go ahead and curl the toes under on the left leg, and then take your body back to downward facing dog. From here, bring your body forward to the plank. Release your knee, chest, and chin. Inhale to upward facing dog. Curl the toes under. Exhale to downward facing dog. And pedal those legs. Now as you inhale, bring that left knee into your chest. And as you exhale, extend that left leg toward the back of the room. Again, press your chest toward the right thigh and knee. Now go ahead and bend that left knee and just kind of open up your hips. And give me 3 deep ujjayi breaths. There's several modifications you can do. If this is too much strain and stress, you can do the same thing right here by dropping your knee down. Okay, so feel free to modify if you need to. Now go ahead and bring that knee down. Extend that right leg all the way back. And try to come down to the forearms, if you will. And this natural extension of your spine, pressing those hips down toward the mat. Now remember, in yoga, there's no wrong way and right way. There's obviously different right poses, but there's no wrong or right way. It's how you're feeling, okay? Now, when I say there's no wrong or right way, there are things that you can do that will injure you, but I won't let you do those, all right? So in other words, I will be correcting form or giving you alignment so that if it doesn't feel comfortable to you, then don't do it. But this is the money pose right here. This should feel really, really good. And remember, if you need to, come here. It's okay to be right here. Okay? It's okay. And then if you're able to go down on one side and not the other, be patient with yourself. It's not uncommon for one area to be tighter than the other. All right, let's go ahead and curl the toes under. And let's take it back to downward facing dog. And let's bring the body forward to plank. Release your knees, your chest, and your chin. And then inhale to upward facing dog. Curl the toes under. Exhale to downward facing dog. Now bring that right knee into your chest. Extend that right leg all the way back. Now bring that right foot forward towards your fingertips. And let's take it up. Let's go to the high lunge. The palms are facing each other. I want you to sink your hips down toward the mat. Arms go up overhead. Palms are facing each other. If this is too much strain and stress, feel free to modify. Bringing the hands together as heart center. Okay, both feet are parallel. Just think of a railroad track. Both feet are parallel. Now, I want you to take this left leg, and I want you to drop the heel down so that your right heel is dissecting the arch of your left foot. Okay? Now, I want you to also, at the same time, start to straighten up that right leg. Okay? And our hands are here. So now we're going to bring it here, heart center, straighten up, and then we're going to take our hands behind. I'm going to do a reverse prayer, but for you, you can just put it on the small back. Matter of fact, I'll start with the small back. I'll do it with you. Take a nice deep breath, and as you exhale, hands forward. Now take your time because I want you to use your breath. You're going to feel a gentle pull on the hamstring as we take it down to the pyramid. Just go down that feels comfortable to you. Don't overstretch it, okay? Think in terms of lifting your kneecap to engage the hamstring. Will give you a deeper stretch in the hamstring in this pyramid stance. And if you need to, address your foot, okay, the front leg. Nice deep ujjayi breaths. And again, just for beginners, I place my hands on the small of my back. Okay, relax those shoulders. Relax those elbows. All right, go ahead and release the fingertips down. Let's go ahead and take it back. Let's go through another round. Release your knees, chest, and chin. Inhale up. And then curl the toes down under to downward facing dog. Now this time we're going to bring that left knee into the chest and extend that left leg all the way up behind. Now bring that left foot forward toward the fingertips and let's take it up to the high lunge. Relax those shoulders, get them down away from your ears. Fingers are spread out nice and wide for now. Palms are facing each other. Hips are pointing down toward the mat. You're breathing nice deep ujjayi breaths. You're going to curl that right foot under. You're going to take your hands behind, small over back as you straighten up your leg. This is as you inhale. And as you exhale, hinge from your hip. Soft kneecap, guys. Engage, activate the kneecap to engage the quadricep. Okay, do not hyperextend. And use your breath, okay, as you're forward folding. All right, let's go ahead and release the fingertips down toward the mat. Take it to the plank. Release your knee, chest, and chin. Inhale. And curl the toes under and exhale. From here, I want you to walk your fingertips back to your toes. And just kind of forward fold here. And then I want you to slowly round it up, one vertebrae at a time, making sure that your head is the last to rise. All right, take a nice deep breath, inhaling. As you exhale, dive your body forward. Look up halfway. Let's take it out to the plank. Walk the fingertips out to the plank. And then exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale to plank. Exhale to downward facing dog. Again, inhale to plank. And exhale to downward facing dog. So just one more time. As we inhale, take it to plank. And as we exhale, take it to downward facing dog. Kind of walk your palms in a little. And then step forward. Right, left, so that your feet are at an angle. And then I want you to drop your hips down, tailbone down toward the mat. And then bring the palms together at the heart center. You're using your elbows to push out on those inner thighs. And let's go ahead and bow the head down. All right, go ahead and place your palms down. Transition the palms toward the back. And slowly adjust your weight and bring your body forward to a comfortable seated position, facing to the front. And make sure that you're off your sits bones and off the fleshy part of your bottom and on your sits bones. Fingertips go down by the side. Take a nice deep breath. Inhaling. And as you exhale, take the fingertips down toward the mat. Again, nice deep breath. Inhaling. And exhaling. One more time, nice deep breath. This time we're going to bring the palms together at the very top. Exhale down through the center. Palms go at heart center and namaste. All right, thank you for joining me for that yoga segment. Now let's go ahead and transition to the meditation. So go ahead and get into a nice, comfortable seated position. If you're in a chair, I want you sitting up nice and tall, making sure that your feet are rooted firmly against the floor. I want you to relax. I invite you to take a nice deep breath. And as you exhale, I want you just to close your eyes. I want you to continue breathing with your eyes closed. Just give me nice, deep, dry breaths. Inhaling through your nose. And exhaling through your mouth. Again, inhaling. And exhaling. Now just take a moment now and just kind of think of how you're feeling, what's going on the inside. See if there's any tight areas in your body, any tension, any stress. Continue breathing. I don't want you to pay any attention to any outside noise or any distractions that may be occurring in and around you. Just really focus on your breath. I want you to imagine that your feet are firmly grounded to the ground, to the floor. And with that grounding, there's a root that's extending from the bottom of your feet all the way down to the middle earth. Now with that root is going to attach itself so that it's strongly attached, firmly grounded towards the middle earth. Continue breathing. I'd like you to start by focusing on your toes. I want you to squint your toes in and then release. Release all the tension and stress out of your toes. I want you to now release all the tension and stress out of your ankles. Continue breathing, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Now, if thoughts are coming into your mind, just kind of gently push them aside. Sort of like clouds in the sky, just let them go by. Pay no mind to them. Just continue to focus on your breath. Inhaling deeply through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. I want you to draw your attention to your calves. I want you to squeeze those muscles in your legs and then release. Direct your attention to your knees. Release. Now move your focus up toward your thigh muscles. Again, as you exhale, just relax and release. Move it up to the hips. And release. Again, as thoughts come into your mind, just gently push them aside and stay focused on your breath, on your breathing. Inhaling deeply through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Now draw your attention to your buttocks. Squeeze and release. Now notice any tension that you may have in your back and release. Moving on to your fingers, go ahead and squeeze those fingers together and release. Now draw your attention to your arms, your forearms, and release. Move your focus up to the upper part of your arms where your biceps and your triceps are, going up toward the shoulders. And go ahead and release. Again, as thoughts come into your mind, just gently push them aside and just focus on your breath. Smooth the focus onto the chest. Squeeze those muscles together. And go ahead and release. Now for your shoulders, once you bring the shoulders all the way up to your ears, just squeeze them really, really tight. And then go ahead and release. Now squeeze all the muscles in your face. Just kind of squeeze them. Squeeze your eyes. Squint your nose. Clench your teeth. Squeeze your forehead. And then go ahead and release. Let's work our way back to our shoulders. And release. Continue to breathe nice, deep, ujjayi breaths. Inhaling through your nose. And exhaling through your mouth. Again, nice deep breath. Inhaling through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. One more time, nice deep breath. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. Okay, go ahead and open up your eyes as you release, relax, return refreshed and calm. You've done something good for yourself today. I want to thank you for taking this time to meditate with me, and thank you so much for watching this broadcast. Today's word is going to be healing. So as you go about today, think in terms of things that you can do to heal yourself. Whether it just be taking out moments of your time to just breathe or just relax your thoughts and just get them out of your mind. I want you to have a nice healing day, and I will see you the same time tomorrow. Bye.